Hi guys, and welcome back to another Sonic Academy video tutorial with myself, Bryan Spence. In this one we're going to have a look at a how to make course covering more of a Pryda kind of sound. So it's that sort of melodic kind of progressive house. I would probably call it sort of progressive house myself. But we'll give it the name of melodic progressive house just to narrow down the genre a wee bit. We're going to begin first of all by creating some pretty simple drums. I'm actually going to use kick for this to create the actual drum, and I'll bundle along the kick drum for you to use because you won't actually have kick yet because it's still in beta stage. But I just wanted to show it working in a project. So what I'm going to do then is first of all get a kick drum going. So I'm going to actually maybe I'll set up a folder here first. Let's see. Okay, so the samples are bundled along with the course. So just add in your into your places folder. You can add in your samples folder in here. So where did that go? There it is. So there's our samples. So I've included the kick drum, and I've got some samples here from our SQL sample pack and from our Ultimate Drums and Ultimate Effects, and we're going to be using all them. So I'm going to first of all grab a copy of kick. Again, this is a very early beta. There have been some adjustments since this, but this will be okay just for what we're showing here. So I'm going to just put in a 4/4 kick drum here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So I'm just going to go through some of the presets to find a kick drum that I like the sound of. So it's a nice clicky one there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, quite like that one. Okay, so we'll go with this one for the meantime. So I'm just going to get your sort of pitch control here on the left, so you can pitch up and down. So I'm going to push that right the way up here and get a nice high kicky one or clicky one. Bring down the top note a wee bit. You can turn off and on your tags here, which is pretty cool, so you can see what notes you're actually hitting. So I'm just going to raise this a wee bit, get a wee bit of a higher pitch going. Maybe this isn't the best one actually. Okay, I'll try this one. Okay, raise that again. And bring another one up. So you can hear here as you move these about, you can change the sound quite significantly. And then you just double click and you can create a new node. Bring this up a wee bit so you raise the sort of bottom as you go through here. This is a sort of timeline, so if you notice, if you can bring the length back, you can actually shorten the note and it just speeds up the whole play through this whole thing. So I'll set it down around about here, and then we can continue on with this. So let's drop this down a wee bit. And then maybe pull this back a wee bit. And you've got your sort of Bezier, or I think it's Bezier or Bezier curves. So really quite complex algorithms. We had a wee bit of an issue, the sort of the design with this, trying to get the algorithm calculating quick enough that it wasn't sort of overriding the CPU. But I think we've got it sort of nailed now. But these curves are really quite complex. But as you sort of move them up and down, you can add bass and change the whole sound of the kick drum. Okay, cool. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to go through some of the clicks here. So maybe go back to the start. So some really nice clicky ones. So that one's quite nice there. Let's bring the volume down a wee bit. And then you've got your EQs here on the right and the left. So I'm just going to push that back, push it up a wee bit, and you get some nice big sub bass. There's quite a cool limiter on this as well, so you can push this quite hard and you'll still come out with good results. So that'll do about there, and I'll bring the sub volume down a wee hair, drive it a bit. We actually have a new drive feature on a newer build of this here, which I'm sure we'll show you in the sort of coming weeks as we get closer to the release. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'll just leave that as it is now. And again, I've bundled along the actual kick drum, so if you want to just drop in the kick, just go to Instruments, just drop in an impulse, and go to your samples folder, and then there's a kick there. So I think I've made that pretty close actually. So you can just drop that into your impulse and sequence it in. But we'll use this impulse for our claps actually. So I'm happy enough with the kick. I'll just grab, let's see, Ultimate Drums. There's a clap there, so we'll drop that in. I think there's some in our sequel pack. There's one. These are nice sort of clambery snares, which I quite like. Okay, and we will just go in here and start to program this in. So let's play that round. Just give us a nice 4/4. I'm just going to shift it back a wee bit just to get that sort of grabby feel to it. And that's that Ultimate Drum snare. So let's push the decay up on that a wee bit. I'm going to bring the whole track volume down on that. Bring the decay down just a bit, and I could put a high pass on that because it's quite a lot of load in that. That'll do, and then we'll drop in the other ones. So go for this one first. It's quite a shorter one. Going to mute this first one here. Just going to extend out these notes too. Hear that with the other clap. Doesn't quite work. I'll maybe use that one for grabbing at the very end instead. Try it with this one instead. Okay, it works there. So I'm just going to duplicate this loop out. At the minute it's one bar. I'm just going to duplicate it. Then we can use that cool sort of grabby one to sort of click in at the end of this one. So I'll try that just before this one. Okay, so I'm just nudging these ever so slightly. That sounds pretty good there. Okay, cool. I'll just go on then and add in another impulse, and we'll do our hi-hats. Let's see, I've got some samples in here too for our hats. Must be in here. Okay, so we've got a shaker, we'll use that. And I'm just going to drop this onto 16th notes. So we're already on the 16th grid. So it's going to duplicate it, duplicate. So I'm just Command and D to duplicate those, Control and D on the PC. And I'm going to have to bring that volume down. And I'm going to go in and just bring the note decay time down a wee bit on that. And I'm going to high pass it just to remove any sort of low end on them. Shouldn't be any, but just in case there is. And I'm going to use maybe some of the swing, the built-in swing in live as well for this, which is pretty good. So if I just go to impulse and down to the groove here, hit the hot swap, and I particularly like the MPC grooves in here. So because we're on 16th notes, we need to go to the MP16, and we'll just go for the very first one. And don't need to do any more than that. That's a pretty staple swing for myself. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. I'm just going to drop a reverb on here just to mix this together a wee hair. So it's going to go to audio effects, reverb, hall, large hall is the sort of sound I'm looking for. So there we go. Actually, there's one already on here. All right, get rid of that one. So we've got large hall, make sure it's wet, and I'm going to get rid of the low and leave the high in there. So I'm going to send some of the hats to that. Quite a lot of the hats and some of the clap as well. Move that last snare a wee bit. Okay, cool. So that sounds nicely mixed there. I'm just going to go to the compressor, and there's a, if you've never used the glue compressor, it's pretty good for drums and things. So first thing I'm going to do is highlight across these three and group them together and rename it to drum grip. And I'm going to drop the glue compressor on here. And what I'm going to do is really thrash the life out of it. So I'm going to loads and loads of threshold back. There's one or two ways you can do this. I quite like doing it this way. I'm just going to show you it. So I'm going to bring the threshold right the way back, release about 0.2 or 0.4 or so, and the ratio right up, and the attack right the way down. And you can hear that it's really slammed. I'm going to tinker with these until I get it even worse. Okay, so it sounds really bad now, but what I'm going to do is bring the dry wet back and just mix these in. Okay, so that's the kind of sound I was looking for there. It just takes that kind of kick drum and it doesn't really slam it, but it adds a bit of that slamminess to it. The other alternative way is to do it really softly. So glue compressor, turn the attack right the way up, the release up as well, and the threshold or the ratio down to about 2. You can bring the threshold back, and it's just so you're sort of tickling it, and you can have the wet right the way up. Then you can raise your gain a wee bit as it knocks down some of the audio. So that's one of two ways. So there's this one, or there's this one. I'm going to dry wet down a bit actually. So whichever you prefer. I think I'm going to go with this one for now. I'm going to leave it on, and we can maybe swap it back every now and again just to hear which one we like later on. So quite happy with that at the minute. So I'll save this, give it a new project. let's see, module 1, drums. Okay, so in the next one then we'll have a look at the, let me see, we'll go on to the synth line maybe. Yeah, we'll go on to the synth line, so we'll use Anna and program a wee cool synth sound. See you again then in the next video.